The History of Sports Broadcasting by Freddie Stanley. Sports broadcasting as we know it today started in 1911 in Lawrenceville, Kansas, where the first broadcast of a sports event took place. The game being broadcasted was a football game being played between the University of Kansas and the University of Missouri. It was done by someone watching the game in Missouri and mapping it out on a model football field. The information was then telegraphed directly back to Kansas, where it was mapped out and read aloud to a crowd of roughly 1,000 people. This wasn't a radio or TV broadcast, but involved such a large number of people that is considered the start of sports broadcasting. In 1921, the first substantial radio broadcast of a sports event took place. The event was broadcasted by the Westinghouse station KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The sport being broadcasted was boxing, which was a very popular sport at the time. After the success of the boxing match, KDKA Pittsburgh began broadcasting more sports events. In the same year, KDKA broadcasted the first ever baseball game on air. The game being played was between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Philadelphia Phillies. In that very same year, 1921, the first football game ever broadcasted on air was called between the University of Pittsburgh and West Virginia. From then, sports broadcasting started becoming a regular occurrence on the radio. The start of sports broadcasting on TV in the year 1936, when a local German station broadcast the 1936 Berlin Summer Olympic Games to a small audience. Very few people saw this telecast, but it was the first telecast of the sport ever. The first time a sporting event was broadcast in the United States on television was with NBC broadcasting a college baseball game between Princeton University and Columbia University. In that very same year, the first college football game was broadcasted on TV. This game was played between Waynesburg College and Fordham University. This game was broadcasted to a very small local market. From 1939 to 1951, sports events were only broadcasted to small local audience. But in 1951, the first nationwide telecast of a sports event took place when Duke University played the University of Pittsburgh in football. Shortly after this game was played, the NCAA put on very tight restrictions on broadcasting college sports events. These restrictions were kept in place until 1982. The first broadcast of an NFL game took place in 1939. The game was being played between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Brooklyn Dodgers, a club more widely known as the name of a baseball team. Since that first broadcast, NFL games on air were many and consistent. Nowadays, the NFL brings in $5 billion plus yearly from the rights to their games. Unlike the NFL and college sports, the NHL hasn't had the same on-air success story. The first radio or TV broadcast of an NHL game took place in 1960, and after many disputes on the rights to the broadcasting games, the NHL games were on air unfrequent for many years. Many people believe that this is a large reason why the NFL isn't as popular as the NFL, MLB, NBA, or college sports today. As for modern sports broadcasting, the field is dominated by ESPN. A company based in Bristol, Connecticut, ESPN has multiple TV stations, for example, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News, etc., a wide radio network, a magazine, and an online streaming service, and so much more. NFL runs a 24/7 program and it's the first major station of this kind. Even though ESPN dominates the field today, there are many other stations that are popular as well. Fox, NBC, ABC, and CBS also have large sports broadcasting departments, and each of them has their own sports networks. For example, NBC has NBC Sports, Fox has Fox Sports 1 and Fox Soccer, CBS has CBS Sports, and ABC, which owns ESPN, has many networks. For where sports broadcasting is headed in the future, all signs are pointing towards digital technology. Sports apps and streaming live sports are gaining in popularity. Sports podcasts are also gaining in popularity online. Apps like Watch ESPN make it easy for people to watch sports on their computers, tablets, and even smartphones. What else is coming along for the future of sports broadcast? Well, that part is unknown.